What would you do if the road ahead was swallowed by shadows and the air crackled with an unspoken dread? The quiet hum of my car's engine was the only thing that accompanied me down the desolate stretch of Highway 76, an endless ribbon of asphalt that twisted through the suffocating embrace of the Whitman forest. The trees loomed like sentinels, their gnarled branches reaching out as if to ensnare my thoughts, pulling me deeper into a past I had long tried to escape. I am Clara, a historian, drawn to the forgotten tales of our world, but tonight I found myself entangled in a story I never wished to uncover. The night felt heavy, wrapped in a shroud of darkness so profound it threatened to swallow me whole. As the headlights cut through the thick veil of night, I caught fleeting glimpses of shapes darting in and out of the trees, mere figments, the remnants of my imagination, or perhaps something more sinister lurking just beyond sight. Growing up in the sleepy town of Ashford, I had heard the whispers of the lost, those who ventured onto this very road and vanished without a trace. Local lore spoke of vengeful spirits, their cries echoing through the woods. But I had always dismissed these tales as mere superstition. Yet here I was, with every mile traveled, feeling the weight of those stories pressing against my chest, like an iron shroud. My heart raced when I noticed the first sign of conflict. A flicker of movement caught my eye, a figure standing at the edge of the tree line. I slowed my car, peering into the darkness, but the figure melted away before I could discern any details. Just the wind, I told myself, but a chill climbed. My spine and an instinctual fear gripped me. I could almost hear the whispered warnings of my grandmother, who had once told me that some roads were not meant to be traveled alone. The moon emerged from behind a veil of clouds, casting an eerie glow across the landscape, revealing the twisted forms of the trees and the shadows they cast. The air felt charged, as if the very fabric of reality was fraying at the seams. I could feel the weight of my past pressing down on me, the memories of my mother's untimely death still fresh, a wound that never fully healed. The unresolved grief and guilt had followed me like a specter, a reminder that sometimes the past does not stay buried. As I drove on, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. The trees whispered secrets, and the road ahead seemed to stretch endlessly into the unknown. It was then that I realized my phone had lost signal, leaving me cut off from the outside world. A sense of isolation gripped me, each heartbeat echoing in the silence that enveloped me. What was it about this cursed stretch of road that drew me in, that beckoned me to confront the very fears I had tried so hard to escape? But when night fell, something inexplicable happened. The shadows deepened around me, stretching longer. As I continued down the road, each passing moment feeling like a countdown to something inevitable. My grip tightened on the steering wheel as I scanned the periphery of my headlights, half expecting another figure to materialize from the darkness. But it wasn't until I reached a small clearing that the unease crystallized into something tangible. There, in the eerie moonlight, stood an abandoned gas station, its paint peeling and windows boarded up, a ghost of a once busy pit stop. The flickering neon sign above the entrance read, "Open," but it was clearly a lie. I felt an inexplicable pull to stop, a need to investigate, despite the gnawing instinct to keep driving. I took a deep breath, steeling myself against the creeping dread, and parked my car. As I stepped out, the cool air hit me, and I instinctively pulled my jacket tighter around me. The silence was deafening, the only sound the rustle of leaves in the wind. I cautiously approached the gas station, every step echoing in the stillness. Just as I reached the door, I heard a low voice call out from the shadows, "You shouldn't be here." I froze, my heart racing, scanning the darkness for the source of the voice. Emerging from the shadows was a man, disheveled and wild-eyed, with a scruffy beard and clothes that looked like they had seen better days. "This road," he continued, "it takes more than it gives. You need to turn back. They're watching you." "Who's watching?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, though panic was rising in my chest. He stepped closer, his eyes glinting in the dim light. "The spirits of the lost. They're hungry for stories, and you—" He pointed a trembling finger at me. "You have one they want. The whispers. They followed you here." My mind raced, trying to make sense of his words. "I'm just driving through. I'm not here to tell any stories." "Not yet," he replied, shaking his head. "But they'll find you. They always do. I was once like you, a historian too, but I learned too late." His voice dropped to a near whisper. "I lost everything trying to uncover the truth." "Your name?" I asked, desperate for some form of clarity amidst the chaos. "Eli," he said, his eyes scanning the trees as if expecting something to emerge at any moment. "I've been here too long. I've seen too much. You must leave while you still can." But before I could respond, a sharp sound sliced through the night, a low growl that vibrated in my chest. I turned to see shadows shifting among the trees, dark shapes that seemed to move with a life of their own. Panic surged through me and I stumbled backward, glancing at Eli, who was now staring wide-eyed at the encroaching darkness. "Get inside," he shouted, urgency spilling from his lips. I didn't need to be told twice. I bolted for the gas station door, Eli close behind me. Inside, the stale air wrapped around us like a shroud, and I slammed the door shut, leaning against it as if to keep the shadows at bay. "You're playing with fire, Clara," Eli said, his voice shaky but intense. "You have a choice. Confront the past or let it consume you. But know this, every choice has a price." As I caught my breath, the weight of his words pressed down on me. I could feel the ghosts of my past, the unresolved feelings about my mother, the guilt that had haunted me for years, clawing at the edges of my mind. The shadows outside began to swirl, and I realized that the story I had tried to escape was now here, intertwined with my present. In that moment, I understood. I wasn't just a historian anymore. I was a part of the very tale I had sought to uncover. And the shadows were not only watching, they were waiting for me to make my move. Eli's gaze locked onto mine, and I saw a flicker of understanding. "We need to confront them," he said, urgency threading through his words. "Together." As the darkness pressed in around us, I nodded, a decision forming in the depths of my heart. Whatever awaited us out there, I would face it head on. This time, I wouldn't run from the shadows. I would step into them. Eli's determination steadied my nerves, but a pulse of doubt crept into my mind. As we stood there in the flickering gas station light, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had stepped into a nightmare from which I couldn't wake. I glanced around, taking in the dusty shelves lined with forgotten snacks and the faded posters that seemed to whisper warnings of their own. "Do you really believe there are spirits watching us?" I asked, trying to mask my growing unease. My voice cracked, betraying the tremors of fear that coursed through me. "How do you know they want my story?" Eli hesitated, his eyes darting back to the door. "You don't understand. The past isn't just a series of events. It's alive. It clings to us, demanding to be acknowledged. And you—" He pointed again, this time more forcefully. "You've buried something deep, something they want." The shadows outside danced, and I could feel the weight of memories pressing down on me. Images of my childhood flooded my mind. My mother's laughter turning into silence, promises unkept, and the guilt of being the one left behind. A sudden realization hit me like a punch to the gut. Had I truly escaped from my past? Or had I simply pushed it so far down that it was now clawing its way back up? "What do you mean? What do they want from me?" I asked, my voice barely above, a whisper. "The truth," Eli said, his voice grave. "The truth about what happened to your mother." My heart raced. How could he possibly know? I hadn't spoken about her in years, not to anyone. "You don't know anything about me," I shot back, anger rising in defense against the vulnerability creeping into my chest. "Don't I?" Eli pressed, his gaze unwavering. "Your mother was part of this road's history. She sought the same answers you're after now. But she never returned. Stop!" I yelled, panic lacing my words. "You're wrong! She left me!" But even as I spoke, doubt clawed at my mind. I had always believed she abandoned me. But what if there was more? What if the shadows outside were remnants of her story, still lingering, still searching for resolution? Suddenly, a loud thud reverberated against the door, sending shockwaves through my body. Eli jumped, and I could see the fear etched on his face. "They're coming!" he shouted, rushing toward the dimly lit back room. "We need to find a way out!" As I followed him, I caught sight of something that sent a chill down my spine. A dusty old newspaper clipping pinned to a wooden board. The headline reading, "Local woman disappears. Search for Clara Bennett continues." My heart dropped. It was my mother's name, and I was now tangled in a web I had only begun to understand. Clara. "We have to move now!" Eli's voice broke through my shock. He was right. Whatever was outside was no longer just a vague threat. The shadows were alive, and they were searching for something, or someone. I felt my sanity slipping as the walls of the gas station seemed to close in. I was no longer just a historian. I was a daughter, haunted by the ghosts of my past, and now the truth was demanding to be set free. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the next step. Whatever awaited me in those shadows, I had to face it. "Let's go," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Whatever is out there, I need to confront it. I need to know the truth about my mother." As Eli and I pushed through the back door, the night air felt charged, electric with uncertainty. The shadows swirled around us, whispering secrets I had long tried to forget. But now they were beckoning me forward, promising answers that would either free me or bind me forever. The night air was thick with uncertainty as Eli and I stepped into the darkness. The flickering gas station lights faded behind us, swallowed by the inky blackness that surrounded the building. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, each beat echoing the fear and determination swirling within me. Eli led the way, his silhouette barely visible against the backdrop of the haunting night. "Do you hear that?" I whispered, straining to catch any sound over the rushing blood in my ears. The air was still, but a low murmur began to build, a chorus of voices, rising from the shadows. They were soft at first, like a breeze rustling through leaves, but then they intensified, growing louder and more insistent. I could almost make out words, fragments of sentences that seemed to reach out to me, begging for acknowledgement. Eli paused, his expression shifting from urgency to something more complex, fear mixed with resolve. "They're here," he said, stepping back slightly. "We need to be careful. They can sense your emotions." "Who can sense what?" I asked, my voice rising in panic. "What do you mean?" But before he could answer, a figure emerged from the darkness, its outline barely distinguishable. I squinted, trying to make sense of the shape, and then I saw her, a woman with long dark hair and a familiar silhouette. My breath caught in my throat. It was my mother. "Clara," Eli murmured, stepping back as if struck. "Mom," I called out, my voice trembling. "Is it really you?" Her eyes were hollow, filled with an emptiness that mirrored the void I had felt since she disappeared. "You shouldn't have come here, my love," she said, her voice echoing like a distant memory. "You have to leave before it's too late." "What do you mean? I need to understand." I took a step closer, my heart racing as I fought against the urge to retreat. "You left me. Why didn't you come back?" "Because I was trapped," she replied, her voice dropping to a whisper. "The truth is a chain, binding me to this place. You must break it, before it binds you too." Just then, another figure emerged from the shadows, Eli's face pale as he stepped forward, his eyes wide. "Clara, listen to her. You have to confront the truth, your truth. You can't let the past control you." "Control me?" I echoed, incredulous. "She abandoned me. How can I trust her now?" "Because she loves you," Eli insisted, desperation creeping into his voice. "And love is the key to breaking the cycle." The shadows around us began to shift and swirl, the whispers intensifying into a cacophony of voices that filled my mind. Memories, regrets, and fears all colliding in a tumultuous storm. I felt the weight of every unspoken word, every buried feeling, crashing over me like waves. "Mom, I need to know the truth," I yelled, fighting against the pull of the darkness. "Tell me what happened." As I spoke, the ground beneath us trembled, and a sudden rush of wind swept through the clearing, pulling me toward the edge of the darkness. My heart raced. And in that moment, I realized I had a choice to make, to cling to the pain of the past or to embrace the unknown, to confront the truth that had eluded me for so long. "Clara, don't let them take you," Eli shouted, reaching out to grab my arm. His grip was firm, grounding me amidst the chaos. "You have the power to rewrite your story." With my mother's hollow gaze locked on mine and Eli's hand steadying me, I felt the weight of their expectations pressing down on me. The decision loomed ahead, a precipice between fear and liberation. The shadows writhed, hungry for my answer. "Okay," I said, my voice steadying. "I'll confront the truth. I will break the chains." As I stepped forward, the shadows surged around me, and with one final breath, I plunged into the darkness, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The moment I stepped into the darkness, it felt as though the world had shattered around me. The shadows enveloped me, and a torrent of memories surged forward, images of my mother, moments of laughter, and the piercing pain of loss. I closed my eyes, allowing myself to be swept away, but I clung to my resolve. I had to confront my past, to face the truth that had haunted me for too long. Suddenly, I was thrust into a vivid scene, my childhood home, alive with the sounds of laughter and warmth. I saw my mother, radiant and joyful, but then the scene twisted, darkening as shadows crept in, transforming her smile into a mask of despair. "You were never meant to suffer," she whispered, her voice echoing around me, mingling with the laughter that turned to cries. "I was trapped, Clara. You must understand." Pain shot through me, a sharp reminder of the scars I bore, emotionally and physically. I felt the weight of every tear shed, every night spent wondering why she had left. I shook my head, fighting against the despair. "You left me," I cried, my voice breaking. "You chose to stay." I had no choice. Her voice trembled, filled with sorrow. "The darkness pulled me in, and I couldn't break free. But you can, Clara. You are stronger than I ever was." With each word, the shadows around me began to dissipate, but not without leaving their mark. I felt a burning ache in my chest, a reminder of the emotional chains I'd worn for so long. The whispers faded, replaced by a distant light. I opened, my eyes gasping for breath as I stumbled back into the clearing. Eli was there, his face a mixture of relief and concern. "Clara, you did it!" he exclaimed, pulling me into a tight embrace. I could feel the warmth of his body, grounding me amidst the remnants of the darkness. But as I pulled away, I saw my mother standing behind Eli, her form flickering like a candle's flame. "I'm free, my love," she said, her voice softer. "Now, but the shadows will always linger. Remember, love is both a weapon and a shield." I felt a chill run down my spine, the weight of her words lingering in the air. There was a sense of resolution, but I also sensed an emptiness, a void left by her departure. Eli looked at me, concern etching his features. "You okay?" "I will be," I replied, though uncertainty gnawed at the edges of my mind. "But what about her? What does it mean that she's still here?" Eli's eyes widened as he turned back to where my mother had stood, but she was gone, leaving behind only a whisper of her presence. "Clara, we need to find out what this means. There are still echoes of the past that need addressing." I nodded, determination igniting within me. "And what about you, Eli? You were part of this too. What if the shadows come for you next?" Shook his head. "I won't let them. But we have to keep moving forward. There are mysteries still left unsolved, and this place, it isn't finished with us yet." The night air felt different now, charged with a new energy, but the silence was deceptive. I could still feel the eyes of the darkness watching, waiting for the right moment to strike again. As we stepped away from the clearing, I felt a pull, an invitation from the shadows I had just escaped. There were more truths to uncover, more chains to break, and so, with our hearts heavy but our resolve steeled, Eli and I ventured deeper into the night, ready to face whatever lay ahead, knowing that the past was not done with us yet. As Eli and I ventured deeper into the night, the air grew thick, with an unsettling energy that twisted around us like a living entity. Shadows danced at the corners of my vision, whispering secrets I could almost grasp but never fully understand. With every step, I felt the weight of my mother's warning echoing in my mind. The shadows will always linger. Suddenly, the ground beneath us trembled, and a chilling wind howled through the trees. I looked at Eli, his face pale, eyes wide with a mixture of fear and determination. "Clara, we need to find shelter," he urged, his voice strained. But before we could move, the shadows converged, forming grotesque shapes that twisted and writhed, their intentions clear and malicious. I felt the air thicken, constricting around me. The memories I had fought so hard to confront clawed their way back, flooding my mind with despair. I could see my mother's face again, but this time it was not a gentle reminder of love, but a tormented visage, trapped forever in darkness. "Clara!" she screamed, her voice now filled with panic. "Run! They're coming for you!" I turned to Eli, my heart racing. "We can't let them take us!" But the shadows surged forward, their whispers rising to a deafening crescendo. The very ground seemed to pulse with their malevolence, and I felt myself being pulled toward them, a dark embrace that promised to swallow me whole. In that moment, I had a choice: to fight and risk losing everything, or to surrender to the darkness that had claimed so many before me. I hesitated, my mind a tempest of fear and uncertainty. But as I stood frozen, I felt Eli's hand slip from mine, his eyes filled with determination. "Clara, I'll hold them back. Go!" Panic surged through me as I watched him step into the shadows. They consumed him, his scream cutting through the air like glass shattering. I stumbled back, heart racing as I realized the truth. The darkness had always wanted me, but it craved him too. With a final heart-wrenching cry, I turned and ran, the shadows laughing behind me, echoing Eli's name in a haunting chorus. I was free, but the price was steep. The darkness had taken him, and as I fled, I knew I could never escape the truth that in this world, love and sacrifice were but a fleeting illusion. As I emerged into the moonlight, I turned back one last time, the shadows retreating, but not without leaving their mark. A chilling realization settled into my bones. I had not escaped the darkness. It had merely bided its time, and it would return stronger than ever to claim what was rightfully its. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Share with your friends so they can also embark on this mystery-filled adventure. Leave a comment below telling us your favorite part or what kind of ending you'd like to see in a future story.